Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sportsfellas.
Hey, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is Don. I just want to give a shout out to everybody listening, and my big boss at Pizza Hut, John, who's a Arizona Cardinals fan.
Hey, everyone, this is Chris with a K. I want to give a big shout out, as always, to my wife, Sarah, a couple buddies of mine, Daryl and Mark and Grace. Thanks for listening, guys.
Hey, this is TJ Kenny, just checking in with you guys. Local here, new edition for tonight.
Hey. And this is Eric. I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife, Amber, all the people in the armed forces, and my buddy, Chris Lindsay, Mike Hanna, and JC Bordeaux, my resident Chiefs fans that keep me level. And I'm not talking about my Steelers. And this is your host, Carlos. I want to give a quick shout out to my wife, family, friends, and to the audience tuning in to us. You guys, please, don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that like button. Feel free to comment on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. We're also on iTunes. So just tune us out. All right, you guys. So we're gonna dive in real quick. So we're gonna be talking a little about our segment about Chuck's dugout. We're gonna talk about the NFC West and the AFC West as well. So let's go ahead and give a quick break for our segment sponsors.
Are you needing some insurance? Give our good friend Ernie Ruelas with State Farm Insurance a call. Like a good neighbor, Ernie's there. You can call him at 1-316-682-2300. Or if you're in Wichita, come see his office at 11330 East Central, Suite 400 at Central and Greenridge.
All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and start off with the NFC West. First up, the Los Angeles Rams. So they went last year 10-6. They beat Seattle in the playoffs, but they lost to Green Bay in the divisional round. I'm going to let the shout out to my good friend Josh, big Rams fan. I'm going to go ahead and start this off with you, Eric. Where do you see the Rams at going this year?
You know, it's kind of a question mark. I think Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford is a big question. From everything that I've seen in the reports, Matthew Stafford's doing very well. He has a lot of weapons there. It's going to be interesting now how dangerous they are with Deshaun Watson being in the wide receiver room. Aaron Donald saying that he's not as good as he could be. He still wants to get better. He's trying to be a student of the game. One of his games of defensive tackle. You know, this is a 3-time defensive player of the year who says he's still not at his best yet. So he's still very dangerous. I think they're going to be very competitive. I think they can take the division, but a lot of it rides on how good Matthew Stafford can get into that system and trust and believe and buy into Sean McVay.
How about you, Don?
Yeah, right now they seem to be the stronger team right now in that division.
Now, do you feel that this Ndamukong Suh, when he was on the participating team in the Super Bowl, but they lost to New England, him going away, and then who they picked, Jalen Ramsey. So Jalen Ramsey comes in to help complement the corners. Do you still feel the Rams are still missing more players on the defensive side?
Yeah, they need to pick up on their linebacker part. I think if they get another good solid linebacker and another pass rush to help out with Aaron Donald on the other side, I think that can make real trouble for the other rest of the teams in the division.
Chris?
I think a lot of it, like Eric said, weighs on Stafford. I'm a big fan of the coach and the quarterback are two of the biggest things that determine the success of most NFL teams because a lot of the other talent is fairly equal throughout the league. I mean, some spots are stronger, but across the team, for the most part, the quarterback having the ball in his hand every play, and the coach who's the overall seeing things. And I think Sean McVay is a very, very good coach.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Stafford is a very good quarterback, but he's also getting up there in years. So we'll see. I think Don's right on with the defense with the linebacker position. We'll have to see. And I think for a lot of teams, that's a position that's in flux with the way offenses have changed now. I think that linebacker position is one of the ones that's still trying to catch up to that big change of the more passing across the league.
More coverage for sure.
For sure. And of course, but they can't be small guys. They still got to stop that run. I mean, you get little, 200-pound cornerback sized linebackers and they're just going to pound the crud at you with a strong run game. So I think that's one of those defensive evolving positions, and the Rams are ones that are looking to see what happens there because they are strong in the secondary, they are strong on the line. So let's see what happens there. So we'll see. They are going to be a strong team in the division. And then in Seattle, I think it's going to be a really fun division to watch because of that.
I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because I was doing some research, and the thing is that when you compare Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, you notice that Jared Goff was on the rise. I mean, they were picking up. I mean, I think they were the number one in NFC in more scored points, if I'm not mistaken, that year they went to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
But then here they go, they meet Bill Belichick, and stopped them to how many points?
Not a lot.
Not a lot of points. I don't recall right now.
Isn't that the lowest, like one of the lowest scoring Super Bowls? That one.
And then the following year, did you see how Jared Goff was not able to get the ball out? Then Todd Gurley regressed. So
I think that Todd Gurley regression was big, and then all of a sudden now he's gone.
Cooper Kupp tore his ACL that year as well.
So they just kind of just fell back.
Did they lose their running back this year?
I'm not sure.
Yes, Cam Akers. Yeah,
the one that had replaced Gurley that was looking really good. I thought that he had an injury either in mandatory voluntary mini camps or early in training camp. We don't have to look that up. That's going to hurt Matt Stafford a little bit. I think McVay is offensively minded and gifted enough that maybe he can overcome that. We'll see. But that's my 2 cents on it.
All right, Tim?
Well, in dealing with new quarterbacks, as far as trying to replace the old, as you said, a lot of it has to do with making sure that the new guys have enough play time and that they're not being promoted too much, that they're running themselves ragged, that they can't get enough practical practice in when they're actually in the game, but not so much that they're endangering themselves so that they can't get better. So it's a lot more coordination between both the coach, the quarterback, and the team, because even though if you're out there on your own, you still need to make sure that you're A, B, and C on if you're D.
Duly noted. So on that, do we all agree, guys, that they are going to still be the primary threat in the NFC West?
I think they got better with the trading Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. I think they only got better at the quarterback position.
Yes.
And do you feel that Matthew Stafford's going to utilize more of his offensive weapons? Because we know that Everett got let go of the Rams and he's playing for Seattle now. And now we know Russell Wilson likes tight end friendly. Yes. He likes his tight ends. And also now back to the run game. Now we know that Cam Akers is out for his ACL. Now do you feel that the running back core, is this going to be a committee going in?
Someone's going to have to step up.
That's the name of the NFL.
Yeah, especially in the modern running back game is next man up, and we'll find someone if you're not doing it.
Yeah, since they lost their main guy, I imagine it's going to be a two-headed monster of possibly some guys we've never heard of,
some younger guys,
free agent, rookie, something like that. Yeah.
Well, they might pick up some UDFA that gets cut. Someone's going to try to stash on the practice squad, and yeah, they've got options for running back.
All right, well, we're going to keep an eye on the Rams. Let's go ahead and move on to the Arizona Cardinals. They were 8-8. They missed the playoffs. And so let's go ahead and start this off with you, Don. Where do you see the Cardinals at this year? Do you feel that Kyle Murray's going to elevate them to another level, or are they going to be plateau? Where do you see them going this year?
When I watched the game last night, he was not very good. So it just kind of brings the question, is it because of the first game rust that he had to shake off, or is there a problem going on right now? Because he only played maybe 3 series and netted only maybe 4 yards and didn't complete but 1 pass out of 4. So I think his timing may be off, and this is his first game. So I think I need to see one more game in the preseason to see where he's going to progress for the season.
Yeah.
So fresh off the press, what I'm reading it makes me really sad. Larry Fitzgerald isn't sure that he has the urge to play anymore. So at 38 years old, second in yards all time. Cliff Kingsbury is still open for him to come back if it's in Larry's court, if he wants to come back or not. But that's a loss of leadership in that locker room for sure. They did bring in AJ Green and Rondale Moore.
So they still have, and of course they have DeAndre Hopkins. So they're still good there. But I also did watch the game, and Kyle Murray's timing was off. He actually threw the ball behind two of his receivers that were very open. So I'm not going to read too much into it because it is preseason. There's still guys that are trying to fight for a spot, but at the quarterback position, you want to see confidence and consistency, and it's just not there right now.
Well, Chris, okay, speaking of A.J. Green, now he's a long-time Bengal.
He is. He's a great player.
Where do you see him transitioning with Arizona?
It's going to be really interesting. They've said really good things about him so far, as much as I've read, that he's looking great in camp this year. His last couple of years in Cincinnati were very heavily injury plagued. It's one of the reasons they felt it was time to move on. He needed, as much for them that they needed some youth that, he needs a new outlet, new change of pace for his life. It seems to be paying off well. He's going to look great. I think, especially now having DeAndre Hopkins on the other side. I mean, two of the top 5 receivers potentially in the league playing at the same time on the same team. J.J. Watt, is he still playing there? He hasn't gotten injured
He's still
yet?
there. He didn't suit up for the first preseason game.
Is he still coming off some injury from last year? Is that right? Man,
Isn't he injured every year?
that's why I said he's not injured yet, right?
Yeah.
Well,
That could be an improvement on that defense. I'm not a huge Cliff Kingsbury fan.
who's that other wide receiver, Chris? So you said DeAndre Hopkins, and now you have A.J. Green. Is it Kirk?
I have Rondale Moore that picked him up.
Christian Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sleeper. Yeah. And anyone that has fantasy football, he's one of the guys I would really keep an eye on, because that's one of Kyle Murray's favorite weapons going to, especially when DeAndre Hopkins is being covered or double teamed, or whatever the scenario is. They leave him wide open.
He did look good in Dallas last week. When the quarterbacks were going to him, he caught 4 passes for I think 60-something yards.
Okay. How about the run game? How do you feel the run game is going to be?
I think it's, I'm not really sure. Kyler, he did have his wheels last night, from what I saw, but that's not who you want to lead your run game.
Well, you don't want to see him running in a preseason game.
Right. He was.
Well, yeah, I know.
And that's not really what you want to see, because what does that do? It gives them the option to possibly get hurt and injured. And if they lose him, they are done.
Yeah, I don't.
So
as are most teams,
right,
losing their franchise.
I think it's still on the come up. It's not solidified yet, but I think if they get a run game going, it makes it easier on Kyler to throw that ball down the field like he wants to do.
I mean, they're a fun team to watch. I mean, last year when it was that Sunday night game against Seattle, that was an amazing game. Well, they went neck to neck. And one of my favorite Cardinal games, of course, is when my friend here, when the Steelers beat the Cardinals in that Super Bowl. But just to go to show that the Cardinals is known for their offensive weaponry.
Yes.
In going forward. And I'd like to see them resurrect. But for now, and where I'm looking at it right now, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
So,
they're not in a weak position.
Not at all. Tim, do you feel that the Cardinals are going to do anything different from last year?
I feel like they will. Each year there's a chance to grow, and they're always looking at trying to improve themselves. Even if you end up losing a player or benching a player due to injury, you can always utilize that information, be it in training or even just learning from, okay, he got hit at this point, maybe we need to reassess that play and not take him from there, because that opens that area of the body open to more injury. So, and you need to realize not to build a team, even though a lot of them do, on one player. And I know it's really hard to do, especially when you're trying to promote one thing, so it helps drive the franchise. But you can always utilize someone that's on their way out, always as a benefit. It's never a detriment, that they're leaving and they should be booed off the field for it. It should be gradual, and if at all possible, have them retained in the background, because all that experience, all that teamwork, and basically power building that they had over the years, you can't replace that ever. And it's important to utilize that.
Duly noted. That's well put. That's nice, Tim. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the San Francisco 49ers. So I have to do a quick shout out to Isaiah Hernandez and the family. Is that my friend Zach? Patrick and Willie, you guys, I know 49ers, I hear it, 5-time Super Bowl champions.
Mm-hmm.
So last year they went 6-10. They were plagued with injuries, with a lot of miscues. So I'm going to start this off with Chris. Chris, 49ers. Is Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, everyone from the higher ups working your way down?
Hall of
the
Famer
49ers?
John Lynch.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
So
It's
the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking is, are they going to progress? Are they going to be plateau, or they're going to regress?
I think there's progression in their future. Absolutely. They have a strong candidate there to get maybe 2 teams out of the NFC West into the playoffs. And I think the 49ers will be strong candidates to be. I don't know if they can really push this. I think the Rams and Seahawks are still the the top of that division, but they could wind up being tied with one of them in second place or near that.
How about you, Eric?
So for me, like you said, injuries last year, they're still beat up right now. Deebo Samuel injured his boot last week or this current week. Jalen Hurd is injured again at the wide receiver position. Like I said, Deebo Samuel, he went in for MRI, but they haven't got any results back from him yet. But for me, the question is, if you saw the first game, Trey Lance looked really good. So do you still believe in Jimmy Garoppolo as a 49ers?
They sure paid a lot to get Trey Lance.
They did.
That's a tough.
And he's showing up. From what I've seen, and I've heard good things about him in camp, he looks very poised for a young man getting his first start. And his arm talent was there. If you saw that 8-yard bomb, it was on the money. So he's showing all the right things. But again, this is preseason, not the real game.
Shanahan might prefer the veteran.
And he said that,
which most coaches do, but who's writing those checks? Because it's above the coaches, it's above John Lynch.
But it's who is going to put us in the best position to win football games. At the end of the day, that's what this league and this game is about. So,
well, sometimes I think Miami last year they had the situation of owners want to see the new talent. We don't really care what the old man that's heading out the door is doing.
That's true.
I mean, I read an article that really caught him off guard when they put him in because Fitzpatrick was playing well.
He won 3 games straight.
Right. And he laughed when Forrest told him that they were playing too. Are you really? And I mean, they could do the same thing. Shanahan could be like, hey, Garoppolo's doing great. We're doing great. And they're like, yeah, you know how much we paid for this guy? We're not putting that brand new sports car in the garage.
I also think it's different though, with John Lynch being the president of football operations as a former player
and a strong personality.
I think he might have a little more pull, but I think like I said, if Garoppolo starts struggling in these first 3 games, once the regular season comes, I think the leash is short.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now that George Kittle is back, I'm just happy to see him again because he's a top tier tight end.
And he was on injury as well.
Yeah, he's right there with Travis Kelce. I mean, I'm not going to compare him to Travis Kelce because I still feel Travis Kelce is the best tight end right now in the game.
I don't know. Darren Waller's coming up there, Don. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I just said right now. Let me put the parentheses right now. Okay, we'll get to you, Don. But now let's look at the chemistry here. So when they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, after that loss, it just demoralized them. They were lost. And
when you look back at the losers of Super Bowls, the following year their teams tend to not do very well because they had such a long season. They tend to lose some of their talent because of they still made it to the Super Bowl. They still had talented guys.
Retirements, salary cap.
Yeah, and they wind up paying the guys they do keep because hey, we just took you to the Super Bowl. We didn't win it, but we still took you there. So if you look at it statistically, more often than not, the loser of the Super Bowl has a pretty bad year the next year.
All right, well, we'll see how that.
So maybe they can bounce back.
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps.
One more quick thing. Also, another very important part for the 49ers, if they're going to be dominant and get back to that level, like you said, Chris, Nick Bosa coming off his injury.
Totally forgot about him.
I was wondering about the defense side.
The defense, if they can muster up and get all the pieces back, they're going to wreak havoc in the AFC West. They're going to be able to scheme against Seattle because they play them twice. They play the Rams twice. But then going outside of that, then they're going to have to get ready to face like to me, in the NFC, you got to prepare to face like Green Bay, now Tampa Bay. You got to face those kind of teams that are going to give you that kind of a headache. And even though Chicago, offensively, they're not a threat, but defensively, they can still give you a hard time. So we'll see where the 49ers go. I'm looking forward to seeing them. So on to the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seattle Seahawks was 12-4. They won the division, but they lost in the first round to the Rams. So shout out to Nick. And this is also my daughter's team, Leah, this year, go Seahawks. So I'm going to start this off with you, Don. With all the commotion that was going on with Seattle at the beginning, with Russell Wilson possibly being traded and things like that, do you feel Seattle is still the same team from last year, or do you see a little bit of a difference going on for this year?
They seem the same to me right now. Since I haven't seen Russell Wilson play yet in the preseason, it's hard to tell. And then when I watched them play last week against the Raiders, they didn't seem to have a lot of depth going on until later in the game when they started making changes, to some of the third string and the fourth string. But for right now, it's hard to say what they're going to do just yet until we see Russell Wilson.
Now, Chris, who's the high? Jamal Adams, right? He got the big contract.
He just got that big old contract.
Okay, so
let's see. Highest paid safety
for 12-4, Chris.
Hurts.
They struggled. Russell Wilson was running for his life. Literally, they could not protect him. That game, I think it was against the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, last year. The Bills were just after him. His hurries was just ridiculous.
They were on him from the snap.
So now, do you feel that that line has gotten fixed?
I haven't seen much with as far as the line goes. I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why Russell Wilson hasn't played in the preseason is because they're still trying to figure that line situation out, and he's not really wanting to get hit for nothing right now. I mean, he's still got some amazing receivers. Russell Wilson can still lead that team. He's a little older. He's taken a few more hits last year. It's going to be a little bit more of a struggle, I think, this year for them to hit quite as lofty as where they went last year. I think that last game where they lost to the Rams last year is going to be more fortuitous of this year, and then playing the Rams. My guess is they're going to come in second. I think they're still going to be above the Niners. But, yeah, we'll see. I think Russ is going to be running again. I mean, he's good at that. It's good for him that he is.
Well, here's it, Eric. I was going to tell you, DK Metcalf, he's a phenomenal wide receiver.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's tall, aggressive. He's a brute force. But the guy keeps dropping balls in critical times. He does. I mean, so you got him, you got Tyler Lockett. Now we have the tight end Willie Disley starting back. He's coming back from injury. Now Chris Carson got injured towards the end. And going forward with Seattle, offensively, do you feel they still have the proper pieces going in?
I think they do also with their new offensive coordinator. That's a big change this year with Shane Waldron, I think is how you say his name. He seems to be implementing an offense where quicker passes are coming out to kind of help, like Chris said, Russell Wilson from running around a lot. Also, I think the biggest part is if they don't find a way to get Dwayne Brown signed, he's the left tackle, he's kind of holding out right now.
Didn't Russ kind of go out on a limb for him a little, saying this needs to happen?
Yeah, it needs to happen, and they're trying to kind of cover it up, saying, maybe that he has family issues, so he's stepping away right now. But if they don't get him signed, they don't get better. Plain and simple. You know how important left tackles are in this league for a mobile quarterback.
He's what, 36 or I believe he's up there in the veteran age.
Well, the thing is that defensively they were giving up a lot of yards in the air. They couldn't stop the run. And then the year before when Jadeveon Clowney was on that team, I mean, it helped on the line a little bit. The thing is, they're just, I don't know how Pete Carroll is not getting that all orchestrated. The thing is that in the NFC, if you're going against the teams like Green Bay.
Well, when they got Carlos Dunlap, that he was playing pretty well for them at the end of the year. They traded him from the Bengals, and he was a little disgruntled with Cincinnati, and he started performing more like his older self.
And like you said, they gave up a lot of yards in the air. They still need a corner. They're still down one corner. So I saw some things about maybe, if Richard Sherman gets his stuff correct off the field, can they bring him back because he's already familiar with the Pete Carroll system?
I don't think so.
He'd be cheap.
Did you see that Super Bowl when he was trying to, in the Super Bowl when he was a 49er corner? He was just getting beat. It was worse than watching Champ Bailey trying to.
But didn't they play the Seahawks on the way to that Super Bowl, and he had some choice words for,
of course,
during that?
Of course.
But yeah.
What was that? What was that wide receiver again? From Texas Tech.
Michael Crabtree.
Michael Crabtree.
Good one.
Yeah,
don't you come at me.
Hey, don't get defensive here. All right, calm down. Calm down.
No, that's what Richard said.
Well, okay. Well, we're just gonna have to see how Seattle, the 12th man, and that area. Let's see how they will do this upcoming year. I'm looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and move on to the AFC side. So we're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. So this is Don's team. Don, they went 8-8. Real quick shout out to Brandon Burns. He's over there. Hope you're doing well out in Vegas, my friend. And also to my friend Terry. Go Raiders. Commitment to excellence, right? That's how you guys do it. Well, 8-8, Don. 8-8. You didn't make the playoffs. But you guys had an interesting year. So let's talk a little bit about from last year going on to next year. Take your time. Take your time, please.
I think the big change that happened that caused their downfall was when the offensive line caught focus. That was we had to play Tampa Bay. It just seemed like ever since at that point, it seemed like a turning point where everything just went right straight down the hole. Players started becoming unhappy. Nelson Aguilar started getting frustrated with the team. That's why he's gone.
Now he joined New England, am I right?
Mm-hmm. So it just sucks watching him, take his fall like that. But now I think after watching some of the training camps in preseason and some of the new additions that we picked up, a lot of players are starting to look real good.
Real quick on a side note, we want to give a shout out and a thank you for the Raiders organization, Tom Flores, Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. 2-time Super Bowl champion. So hey, congratulations. Now, Tim, big controversial win last year. The Raiders beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. But then they played that game at Las Vegas and they lost. Do you think that the Raiders got a little too over themselves a little bit? What made them go into a hot team and then kind of just decline towards the end of the season?
It tends to happen on West Coast teams more often than not. They'll get a good win and it'll be a strong win, and then they'll go hopefully to the next state. But usually in that area, when they go, it tends to be a party area, and I think they might have burnt themselves out a bit before the game. If not, a few, I want to say their arrogance got ahead of them.
Now, it was documented that John Gruden, they were on the bus,
and they did 2 laps.
They did 2 laps, and it came back to bite them. That's karma there. But speaking of partying, Don, wasn't that last year where they were they all congregated and they got fined by the NFL for, I'm remembering it was something like that they were hosting an event or something. We got to look into it. So to the audience, check it out. But I'm trying to remember.
I think that was one with him and Darren Waller and I think Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, and they all had an event and they did that. I think that's what it was. And
then last year, was it the game in Las Vegas where Fitzmagic threw for the last down and he airballed that boy way out there and then they got a touchdown and it just shut down the Raiders.
That's the one that Magic or Tua got pulled for.
Yep. And it was a Patrick mask uncalled, and one of his greatest throws.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing though with the Raiders, you can never count them out especially when it's this Chief and Raiders rivalry. I mean, it is deep. It does go deep. I mean, I've been to a couple games at Arrowhead where the Raiders, they come into town, boy. There's some fights about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but overall, I'm just hoping John Gruden. Because what year is this he's on now? This is his fourth year.
4th of 10.
So you being the Raiders fan, Don, I mean, I got to put you on the spot here. if you can grade John Gruden right now, what he's doing, do you feel his time is ticking in Las Vegas if they're not
I don't
producing
think
any
it's taken
results?
just yet with the changes that have been made. With COVID happening, that hurt a lot of things. So I think 2020 give it a pass.
Mm-hmm.
But now the very kind of starts right now. Let's see what happens this season to determine whether or not, if there's no improvements been made, that maybe we need to start rethinking and changing up.
Yeah.
So speaking of fights, Carlos, the Rams-Raiders practice ended early because of two fights broke out, as a matter of fact. Funny that you brought that up. I also want to bring up, on the offensive side, Darren Waller signing that deal, that 4-year, $29 million deal. So it's always interesting to me, when you follow the business of football, how players play once they get broke off the bag. So I want to see him still progress and get better, because I think he is arguably one of the best three tight ends in the league if Derek Carr can get him the ball. He is dangerous.
Now, speaking of Derek Carr, I'm going to leave this with you, Chris. Derek Carr, do the Raiders still stick with them, or is this time that they need to reevaluate the quarterback position?
I think he's probably got another year left in him. He's like an Andy Dalton, like Andy Dalton was when he was younger in his career. He's got enough to get it done most of the time with good talent around him. But I think as he's getting older, the arm's starting to get a little. I mean, he can still bomb it and all that, but yeah, I think he's got another year or two left. I think they'll be looking for a replacement next year, probably not after 2022 season. I would say, and I do want to give a shout out to my buddies Jerome and Dave, who are big Raiders fans and hate the Chiefs with all the passion of a good Raiders fan. I think they're going to be right about where they're at. I think John Gruden's arrogance. I think he's a really good coach, but I mean, he showed it with the whole Khalil, just right off the bat with the Khalil Mack thing. I mean,
terrible.
You just don't. He's that guy. He was a defensive guy, but he's still the face of the franchise from the defensive side, and a Hall of Fame level player.
Generational talent.
Build your team around on that side of the field, and to just drop kicking, not even try to work things out and make things work is just show that to me his arrogance, and I think that's just going to continue to bite him in the butt. He's going to continue to keep him from really taking that next step to challenging the Chiefs for the division. Maybe they make a playoff. I don't know that they can win a playoff game though. With constantly, like I said, pissing off Nelson Aguilar, and he walks, and he doesn't care who he makes mad. But you've got to have a team that can win before you can do that.
Come on, Chucky, get it together. Get it together.
Absolutely.
All right, so one last note for the Raiders. So, yes, Don, you think they'll surpass the Chiefs, or we're not even at that discussion yet?
I don't want to say that just yet.
Okay, I was going to say no. No,
that's a big brass one.
It's my team.
Now, to the audience, hey, put your comments down. If there's anything you got to say, hey, say it, please. We like the interaction engagement. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and go to the Los Angeles Chargers. So Los Angeles Chargers, they moved from San Diego, and they were 7-9, did not make the playoffs. So on that quick, we got Charger fans. So let's give a shout out to Andrew and Travis and Corey. So what are they called? The Go Bolts? The Go Bolts. Now I'm going to start this off with you, Eric. So Chargers here, we see Tyron Taylor gets hurt by his training staff. What was it, a needle, or was it he was getting injected?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just fast forward. So we see this new rookie, Justin Herbert. Phenomenal game against the Chiefs. That was a real good game, and we got to see him flourish from there. Seeing them going forward, where do you see the Chargers going this year?
I see them challenging the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs and it's the Chargers. Like the Chargers have. And I said this as soon as I saw Justin Herbert flourish, they have their next Phillip Rivers. And when I say that, I'm not comparing him to Phillip Rivers. I'm saying he's going to be the next guy for the next 10 to 12 years.
And don't forget, Phillip Rivers was a good quarterback, questionable on his throwing, but that people forgot that year they went 14-2 with him controlling the ball. They only had 2 losses that year. I know it was the past, but going forward, Phillip has always brought that team in the playoffs.
Right.
They were, what were they called? The second half. They were the second half of the season team.
Yep.
I mean, I still remember when they beat Peyton Manning in the Colts back when Darren Sproles was the running back. I mean, don't forget LaDainian, Hall of Famer, LaDainian Tomlinson. Those were fun, running all over the Raiders, running over the Broncos.
Marty Schottenheimer.
Oh, Marty.
But back to Justin Herbert. I think he has nothing to worry about. He is their guy for the future. The question is, though, after every rookie that has a good year, can he avoid the sophomore slump? Because now we have tape. Now we have his tendencies. We know who he likes to go to. Can they avoid the sophomore slump? New coach and Brandon Staley, how would he mold with the young guy? Because obviously he's not as big as now the star quarterback. So ego is there possibly. I don't think so with Justin Herbert being a good coachable kid. But, you have an upstart talent now. Can you make it stay hot?
Speaking of that, now their tight end just got let go from the Chargers and went to New England. Henry. He was top tier. He was top 10 tight end.
Absolutely.
So do you still feel that Justin Herbert still has the pieces he needs?
So that hurts him big time because in this league now, every great quarterback has a tight end that they can depend on. So that was a connection. I mean, let's go back to Phillip Rivers. Who was his guy? Antonio Gates. And so you take that connection, especially as a young quarterback. You take that away, he has to find another outlet now. So I think he'll be okay, but they need to find somebody ASAP.
How about you, Tim?
Well, with the move, I think that affected them greatly because it's a bit of a culture shock, especially going from San Diego to Los Angeles of all cities. It's much bigger and strong. But with that said, I'd like to think that the previous community that we were with in San Diego was a lot more close-knit. You had a lot more community built. I mean, come on, they have players that were starting out restaurants and just giving back to the community. They've got to grow that now in LA. That for the longest time, that was one of their adversarial territories. So with that, I'm kind of dating myself. I remember, back when Qualcomm was still Jack Murphy Stadium and Dan Fouts and, all that time back when,
Winslow. We forgot about that was Dan Fouts' favorite target.
Yeah. So it's kind of getting their footing is the best way to put it. But I think with giving out their tight end like that as quickly as they did, I think that was their way of trying to regain some of the money back that they lost during the move.
And that's a good point, Tim, because overall, they didn't, if I'm not mistaken, they moved from San Diego because the owner was not getting the support from the city to rebuild the new stadium. So they see Los Angeles, hey, they got a new stadium.
Where have we heard this before with owners and having fights with cities?
Everywhere.
And here's the thing, though. The Chargers has always struggled to have that fan base. I mean, because, yes, we've seen plenty of games. Okay, for example, your Steelers. Every time they played in San Diego, there were more Steeler fans than Charger fans.
This is true.
And it just goes to show that they need more help in that marketing side. And then going to Los Angeles, yes, it benefited them because they got a newer stadium. But you're right, Tim. I'm going to agree with you that them leaving the 619 over there, going into Los Angeles, that's still Rams territory, Raiders territory.
Saturated market.
So,
yeah. Another thing to note, too, is that they had a growing base, and it was strong there. It's a smaller territory of coverage compared to LA. And you got to remember, though, the naval base is down there, too. So you got a lot of guys that were giving support, but, they're out on patrol, they're out on deployment, and, they can't make every single game. They can't, give back into the pot, so to speak. And so you look at that from a financial standpoint and you think that team is weak when they're not. It's just a different fluctuation because when the Super Bowl came, as a team that consistently would make it to the Super Bowl, but unfortunately have yet to win a Super Bowl, that never diminished our drive to continue to do it. And we never got too discouraged. Yes, we felt bad, but we said, hey, we made it. We made it to the Super Bowl and consistently have made it to the Super Bowl.
Well, the last time you guys went to a Super Bowl was in '95. You got blown out by the 49ers.
Yep.
And you had that opportunity, that 14-2 season. Guys could have went in, but they lost to New England. And then also you guys went to the AFC Championship against the Steelers, got locked down.
We know what happened.
We know what happened, Eric.
It's that arrogance factor again. There were players that should have been reined in and said, hey, you need to cool it. It's great that we're winning, but you can't just think, hey, we're ahead. Now we won. No, it's not done until that final is final.
Okay. Well, maybe with the more additive jerseys, colors, and schemes, they're going to compete with Oregon. So maybe that's going to help them out. But real quick on the running game. So we knew Melvin left. Melvin Gordon went to Denver. Now Austin Eckler is the star there, star running back. Are they going to go back to run base again, or do you feel that Justin Herbert's going to mix it up a little bit, Chris?
Oh, I'm sure they want Herbert to be the star that he's shown at least towards a tendency towards. It's going to be Chargers always seem to be just kind of that quiet, good team that sneaks up on you at the end of the year. Like, look, they're good. They're in the playoffs. How'd they do that? They lost like 5 of their first 6 games, type of thing. Justin Herbert, we'll see. Like you said, he's had some tape on him. The defenses in the NFL tend to make very good adjustments with one-year wonders. We've seen it time and time again. So we'll see. He does have a good skill set to be able to overcome a lot of those. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a little bit of regression in the team overall with the new coaching staff and such in a very strong, or at least very top-heavy division with the Chiefs up there pretty much by themselves. The Raiders, I still think John Gruden's, although as I said just a little bit ago, he's a little arrogant, but I still think that he's a very good coach. I think Derek Carr's a pretty good quarterback, so I think they're still going to be able to one-up the Chargers, and Chargers are going to be regressed a little bit, sitting down there a little lower. So that's my guess on it.
All right, well, we'll have to see what's going on for this following year. So on to the Denver Broncos. Now, to the audience, that is my team. I'm a Denver fan. We were 5-11 last year, and we struggled really bad. We missed the playoffs. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Jim and Karen. They're Mile High fans there. So I'm going to start this off with you, Don. Okay, so last year, Denver was just getting beat up. We lost identity going forward. But we had a couple key games where we didn't get blown out. There was a game at Arrowhead where, Chubb, Von Miller, we gave Patrick Mahomes a little bit of a hard time. But for this year, so now we picked up Teddy Bridgewater. So we also have a fan that's our tight end?
Noah Fant. Yes.
Yeah, so we got him. We got Patrick Surtain going in, and we got that stud running back from North Carolina.
And Von Miller's back also.
Yeah, but we'll get to him in a second. So the question I'm going to ask you, Don, is Denver a new team this year to be worried about, or you still feel they're still from last year?
I think they'll be better than last year, but I don't know if they're going to compete quite just yet against Kansas City. We'll just have to wait and see how the adjustments of the defense takes up in there. But either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, who's going to start, we don't quite know yet.
Chris?
Well, it was going to be my question is if they sorted out the Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Poor Teddy Bridgewater, man. He looked so good coming out of Louisville. Was looking pretty good for the Vikings, and fluke crazy accident, blows out his knee to no end. Looked pretty decent in some relief of Drew Brees a couple years ago.
With you in Carolina, too.
Yeah, looked pretty decent in 1 year with new staff down there, I think. So he just hasn't had enough time the last couple years to really, like he was in New Orleans for a couple years, 2-3 years. So he had time in the playbook, but if Drew Brees was available, he was playing,
right.
Which he was available for a good chunks of the year.
And he won some games when Drew was out.
Right, he sure kept him in the going. So I really would like to see Teddy Bridgewater get a good chance to solidify himself, get the reps that a starter needs, and some time in the playbook. It's going to be tough for him unless he's winning games there to keep that position, and that's just the position a transient quarterback is in. Tyrod Taylor was there last year. He looked good. A fluke little thing, stab in the lung or something that happened to him with that needle, and he gets taken over and never looks back. So hopefully, I'd really like to see Bridgewater come out. I don't think that Locke has the skills really to make it work. I mean, he played. I guess he can be serviceable if there's enough talent around him. So if Bridgewater shows up, plays well, I think the Broncos will be sitting really good there. I don't know if they're going to compete with the Chiefs yet, but they could certainly compete with one of the other teams in a wild card race off.
How about you, Tim?
Well, shout out to my wife. This is her team.
All right.
It's kind of hard to see where things are going with them between losing Manning eventually here and the fact of trying to restructure in terms of a city that probably got hit harder during the illness last year, and them kind of landlocked and mountainous terrain. It's kind of hard for them to get out there to get a lot of their new players and some of their medium players to, I guess, bring more things to the table in that regard, because you've got certain players getting injured by their own staff. You've got fluke accidents happening. They need to make sure that they have other players in the outline as far as filling in for those potentialities, crazy as they may be.
Duly noted. See, Eric, so we see that Melvin Gordon came to Denver, right? Brought a workhorse of a running back going in. Now, Philip Lindsay got traded to Houston, I believe so. Got traded. Now, on the defensive side, so we got Von Miller, still caliber player.
Bradley Chubb.
And, of course, Bradley Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my thing. So, of course, so let's go back to the Manning. We all know. When Peyton Manning came to Denver, when that Super Bowl that they lost to the Seahawks,
another time Tebow got cut.
We're going to get to him in a second. But overall, we all know the staple to go forward in the AFC West, you've got to match up and you have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
There's just no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Eric, the question I'm going to ask you is, with the new running back, the rookie running back that we have, now we got Patrick Surtain Jr. in the second. What do you see them doing possibly this year?
Because of the uncertainty at quarterback, they have to have a run game. They have to. The defense is going to be there, especially if Von Miller comes back and his off-the-field issues are figured out. The defense pretty much won them the Super Bowl the last time they were there. We can all agree on that.
Well, it gives Kansas City fits.
Absolutely.
I mean, they haven't played always well against, won all the games, but the defense gives them some fits most years.
Absolutely. So they have to have a running game to take the pressure off the quarterback position if they want to be competitive.
Okay, so if that's going to be the case, so you have Bridgewater that can spread out the ball.
Right.
Okay, so he creates more opportunities for plays. Drew Locke's got the arm.
My Mizzou guy right there. Shout out to Mizzou.
Okay, of course. But here's my thing with Drew Lock. The games that I've watched him, once the pressure's on him, he's not a scrambler, really.
No.
He struggles.
Not in this league.
But look at the game last year when Bridgewater was with Carolina. They tormented the Chiefs. That they could not get to him. I mean, even though the Chiefs won, but it was a low score. It was a low win. There was a high-scoring game, but they barely won. The
Bridgewater has that steady under pressure. Like, maybe he's
ice in his veins.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to take the hit, but he's still going to step into it, deliver it, and yeah.
The big question is for Vic Fangio, he has to make a choice. And I think this game tonight is really what it's going to come down to. For me, if I'm Teddy Bridgewater, I have to bring my veteran mentality and my consistency. Because there's tape on me. Everybody knows I can do the job if I'm given a chance, which is what Chris does. But for Drew Lock, being a young guy and wanting to be, let's talk about it. John Elway picked him because he's very much like John Elway was, a gunslinger, big arm, big talent, can deliver the ball deep. But if you're inconsistent in this league, you don't have a job. So do you want to go with a veteran that can be consistent with you, or do you want to go with a young hotshot? And that's up to Vic Fangio. And honestly, his job can be on the line.
Absolutely.
On this choice.
What do you think, Don?
Eric hit on all points right there. That's more I can add to it.
All right, so we'll see how Denver does. It's going to be kind of interesting. Look on how they're going to progress this year. All right, so on to the Kansas City Chiefs, the local team. So on this one, since we're on the local team, we're going to do a quick shout out to the Ryan Steele and the family, Jordan Guerrero and family, the Murphys, Sal Lora and the family, and Valerie. All right, so now we got that out the way. All right, I'm going to start this off with you, Eric. They were 14-2, amazing record, won the division. They beat the Cleveland Browns in the divisional round, and they beat the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship.
Tough game.
But then here comes the Super Bowl in Tampa, and they get stopped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what do you see them doing this year, possibly, that is an upgrade from last year?
An upgrade from last year, just, I guess, getting punched in the mouth and having that loss and that hunger. They all came back hungry. I mean, look at Chris Jones. On the defense side, I think he lost 20 or 30 pounds. And in the preseason game I watched yesterday, he had 2 sacks in the first half. He looks amazing. Offensively, I think that they're just hungry because nobody likes to lose like that. And it's funny, when I watched the game, they just came out so slow. I don't know. I'm going to date myself. You guys seen Varsity Blues? They just came out like they partied the night before. Like they weren't focused, or like this is the Super Bowl. This isn't a regular season game. So I think getting put on notice like that, like, hey, we're talking about dynasty here, and what we have, and a lot of big contracts and restructuring to keep the main players there. Obviously, they still have one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, Andy Reid. They have their guy at quarterback. That's not an issue. They got rid of the headaches and the knuckleheads and Le'Veon Bell, and got, I think the guy's name is William. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. He's healthy. So I think just them being healthy, they're already a better team, but they just have to show up to all the games.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick poll on this. So we hear it from Chief fans. Let's hear it from someone. Let's hear it from us. We're not Chief fans here, but no offense. Why did they lose the Super Bowl last year, Don? I'm gonna start that off with you.
They had a few missing pieces on their offensive line that could have helped protect
Eric Fisher,
Patrick Mahomes. So I think that was a big deal about it, because it shut down the run game. And Patrick Mahomes is all over the place, without getting murdered. So,
how about you, Chris?
Yeah, that was the big one with how their offensive line comes back. I think Andy Reid, as Eric was saying, is a great coach. I mean, Hall of Fame coach, living legend right now, going on right there. They may not be quite as good as last year. I mean, 14-2 is a really good record. They're still going to be at the top of the division. They're going to win the division more than likely, even having the Super Bowl hangover, which is considered a jinx. I still think, unless something God forbid happens
Catastrophic
to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he as most teams are, if he's gone, they'll win a couple games, and that's about it.
Hey, Chad Henney's serviceable. He proved himself last year.
He might win a couple games. That's about it.
How about you, Tim?
Could be a number of things. Could be restructuring. Could be a little bit of jitters, coming back from that. It's just regaining that confidence, but not being too overblown about it.
Also, it's also one of the hardest leagues to repeat in. Let's just put that out there. I mean, look at Tampa Bay. They re-signed 22 of their starters. That has never happened before. I also think the Chiefs are a little better because they did lock down a new left tackle. I wasn't very big on Eric Fisher, but now they have Orlando Brown Jr.
Yeah, he's from Baltimore, right?
Yes, his dad played for Baltimore
he's
for 13
strong.
seasons. You know, I'm really big on NFL pedigree. If you look it up, it's very interesting, and he has it. And so he's vowed to protect Patrick Mahomes, who I saw a crazy stat in the Super Bowl. He was scrambled for like 500 yards in the Super Bowl.
Just running away, just sideline, running away, not so much for the thing.
You know, left tackle is a very coveted position in the NFL, especially if you have a gunslinger, passer of a quarterback. And so if they have that lockdown, they can only get better.
Chris, do you agree with me on this or not? That I felt that Andy Reid and staff, when they went into the Super Bowl, they were coming in thinking Tampa Bay perhaps was going to play this certain way when Bruce and Coach Arians and Byron Leftwich and what was the defensive coach?
Steelers guys.
what was the defensive coach's name again? It's not.
They had a top defense though.
Well, when they went in, they just shook them up. It was like, we weren't ready for this. And I still believe that Tom Brady, they went back because he's the student of the game. He's always studying. You know, he saw that, hey, we could play this certain way against them. Let's see if it works. And especially the run game. I felt that was the key. One of the key things to them was the run game. And then especially on the defensive side, they did not play. They were playing.
They were relentless.
I really think that it also helped the when they played in the season. That I think I know the Bucs lost to them in the in-season game that they played, but I think he learned a lot from them. Getting that time against them, I think that really helped. Tom Brady, I'm sure, said, "Okay, this is time number 10. What have we done right the 6 times that worked before?"
Also, when they played him, that was when everybody was kind of Bruce Arians and Tom Brady weren't getting along. They hadn't meshed yet.
Right. They were still. It takes time for a team to grow, and especially when you've got someone as big as a quarterback comes in new with Tom Brady, and they didn't have an off season, no mini camp, barely a training camp that was all weird, and so that took some time. And I think that they really had worked out some kinks by then. And yeah, sure, they came out with some new stuff for the Super Bowl. That's what you're bound to do.
Absolutely.
I think that it was a big thing, like Don said, though, that the Chiefs had a lot of injuries. I think they lost 2 offensive linemen in the championship game 2 weeks before. So there was a lot of uphill for Mahomes and his crew to go through. So
on that note, now let's see about the up and coming teams in the AFC. So like the Browns. The Browns, they got. You think they'll be able to challenge the Chiefs? Okay. How about the Buffalo Bills?
Maybe. Maybe. It depends on who's injured. I think it was a great game last year. It's going to be. They're probably going to play each other at least. It could be the new Manning Brady series is now the Mahomes Allen series.
I think that's Chris. You nailed.
They'll play a couple times, a time or two maybe every year, maybe not quite every year in the regular season, playing most of the time in the playoffs.
Well, okay. So how about the Raiders? You got their number. Do you think there'll be a time when you might sweep them?
I think we'll split this season. I don't think we'll split them this year. They pull it off.
I think that John Gruden does just the time that he and Reid spent together early on. He knows just a few ways to really get under Reid's skin. That's how they can pull off those wins. He knows some of Reid's tendencies that the common coach to an extent doesn't know because they didn't go to school with him, basically.
John always holds a couple aces in his pocket.
All right,
just for Reid.
Just one play away from sweeping last year. Yeah.
That's true. And Baltimore. No, they got them on the second game of Sunday night. Baltimore and Kansas City. And be at Baltimore, I believe. Do you think Lamar Jackson? Because remember, that's that same conversation. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Do you think that Patrick Mahomes is looking this way, like, okay, these guys might be a threat coming up, or not? We're not there yet.
I don't know if he worries about it. I don't think he worries about other guys. I think he kind of got mad when he was playing golf and they were asking about Justin Herbert. I think that kind of got under his skin a little bit, but I really think he's just worried really about what's going on inside the Chiefs kingdom.
All right. Well, hey, we'll see how that goes. So, hey, let's give a quick break here and thank our following sponsors.
Have you ever looked at your windshield and saw a chip or even a small crack, and you wonder what you could do to prevent future problems? Well, luckily here in Wichita, there's a company called Clear Visions. It's a locally owned and operated company, and they'll even show up on site. So even if you're at a birthday party, restaurant, whatnot, it doesn't take very long. So please give them a call, 316-258-9654, to help prevent future cracks or even shatters of your windshield. I got mine taken care of, and it didn't cost me hardly a thing in comparison to a new windshield. So please give them a call today. Number is 316-258-9654.
All right, you guys are now on to the next segment of Mano a Mano. Week 1, the winner was Chaz. Week 2, we have Eric. So he's our current champion right now. So we're going to find out who he's going to take week 3.
I'm so bad at this.
This could be yours. This could be yours, Chris. All right. So speaking of that, Chris, we're going to start you off with you and the current champion. I'm going to start this off with you, Chris. With Tim Tebow being cut in Jacksonville, is he an NFL bust, or what's in store with him in the future in the NFL?
He was always an NFL bust, in my opinion. He shouldn't have been drafted in the first round. He shouldn't have been a quarterback for a playoff game that somehow won on one of those Hail Mary games. So, yeah, I would say he's always been a bust, and that's where I'm going to go with it. He's done in the NFL. He's done with sports. He's tried baseball. Maybe he's going to try golf next. I mean, he's going to be an old man. He's got to switch it up.
What I'll say for Tim is back to the booth, right? I mean, I say coming out of college, I mean, he won a Heisman Trophy. He did win a playoff game. I just don't think he actually got a fair shot at quarterback. He did have to change his throwing motion, what have you, but he did win a playoff game. So he's not a complete bust, but I think after being out of the game as long as he was and trying to come back at a different position at the NFL level, Shannon Sharp said it best. I have to see it. I don't believe it. Why do you think you can take a chance away from these young guys who have been playing this position their entire life and think you could come in? I don't know, Chris, did you see that block he tried to?
Yeah.
That was a quarterback
You
block.
can't really call it a block.
No.
I mean,
he whiffed on it. So, I mean, I understand
it's a
him getting
stumble and fall.
Urban Meyer had to cut him, or else they would have had to cut Urban Meyer. So,
I still feel that on that note that Urban Meyer gave him a hookup spot. He said, "Hey, come back in. We'll take care of you." But that weak pass, and then did you see that route he cut off on one of the wide receiver routes?
Yeah,
that did it for me. And I said, "This is not going to work." So, all right, good job.
He might have won a game, but he was not a good quarterback. That's why he never was given a chance to be a quarterback.
Well, look at his plays when he was in Florida. I mean, yes, he's a 2-time national champion.
He was a running back,
but he was doing plays.
They were running a 3-option system basically.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and give this one to Eric. So, all right, Eric, we'll move on to the next one. So, next up, Don and Tim. So, I'm going to start this off with you, Don. Should Bill Belichick start Matt Jones or Cam Newton, and why?
I think you should start Cam Newton because right now he's a veteran. Both quarterbacks are doing well in the preseason right now, but if you want to go for who's going to get you to win right now, I will go with the veteran.
Tim?
Me, I'd say it's a kind of a 50-50 response with starting the veteran for the first half and then giving the new guy the tail end of it. If they've got a strong lead.
Well, you don't want to keep making quarterback changes. Yeah, you want to stay consistent with the team. You can keep who's in there what they're used to. Yeah, right now, Cam Newton is really good at that for them.
All right, well, hey, I'll give that to you, Don. Good job on that one. All right, Chris is up. So, Chris and Eric, I'm going to start this off with Eric. Eric, do you see Denver? Do you see Los Angeles? Or Las Vegas is going to bring the competition in the AFC West? Who will it be and why?
You said Denver, Los Angeles, and who else?
Las Vegas.
I think it'll be Las Vegas. They have a better offense They have their guy at quarterback. They have offensive weapons. They also have a better coach that can maybe pull them out of bad situations, making good coaching calls. I really think it's Las Vegas. They have the most upside out of the other two teams that you mentioned.
I've got to go with Denver. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to win that competition. And like I said, the defense in Denver always gives Kansas City a fit. And I think that they're going to be maybe Oakland sweeps them because, well, like we were saying, John Gruden has those aces up on Andy Reid. But I think in the overall season, Denver's going to wind up pulling out the second place, the challenge to Kansas City for the AFC West with that defense and Teddy Bridgewater stepping up. Vic Fangio is a defensive coach, which means he's going to be looking for a game manager, someone that's not going to throw the ball away, someone that's not going to be making those gunslinger throws necessarily. He wants a conservative, keep the ball, keep the time of possession, let my defense do the work that they can do. Let's win this like a football game used to be won.
And they have their running back in Melvin Gordon that they know they can depend on as a worker.
All right,
that makes sense, Chris.
Okay, I'm looking for one more thing. You guys are almost there. Give me something different. Help me out.
Denver, Teddy.
Mile
high.
I mean, your point is good, but what if Drew Lock wins the job?
I don't think that I think that the defensive minded coaches got to go that way. That's why I've got to go with Denver.
Okay, I'm going to give you Denver. All right, but you
had to go for the host.
But you almost lost because the audience that has heard that you said Oakland and they're not in Oakland; they're in Las Vegas.
That's because we had the notes.
Don't blame me. Now, I might change my mind.
Vegas.
All right,
Vegas.
So let's go ahead and give this back to Tim and Don. So I'm going to start you off with you, Tim. Will Urban Meyer, the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, be a success in Jacksonville, and why?
Well, considering he's already had previous experience in coaching, it never hurts to have a new feel with a new team. I'm sure some people might think other of that, but I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, unless he makes some, open, critical mistakes that, even your starting coach would make or would see and not make.
Don?
Well, they can't do any worse than we did last year. And bringing in a new coach, in that division right now, I think right now that division, you got the Colts that are probably going to win it, but they'll put a strong second. If we look at their division, Houston right now, there's too much controversy.
Shambles.
And then we still can't forget about Tennessee. So for them to succeed in that division, really,
So you don't believe in Trey Lawrence yet?
He's a rookie, so it's kind of hard to.
Trevor Lawrence, I'm sorry. Trevor.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
It's in that division, you got to play them two teams twice. So his success level, they'll do a little better than last year, but I seriously doubt that.
Anything to say on that?
It also has to do with the team. If that team actually has some brighter spots, if at all possible, be it, it could be player improvement, they could have someone in the wings that they bring out that they had that no one, was flying under the radar, maybe, but, I couldn't really say unless, again, performance, you'd have to actually see it play out in front of me.
All right. Well, duly noted, Tim. Good shot. But I'm going to give this one to Don. So, Don, you move on. So, now I'm going to start this off with Don and Eric. So, I'm going to start off with you first, Eric. So, is it Zeke or Dak feeling more pressure this season, and why?
So, I think Dak is feeling pressure because he signed a big deal and he wants to come back and be the next Dallas Cowboys quarterback that goes down in history. But I think who should be feeling the most pressure is Ezekiel Elliott, because he just came off his worst year statistically in his career, and he got broke off the money and did not show up. So, some people say offensive line was banged up, the defense wasn't very well, but if you're the running back and you're having fumbling issues, you have no excuses. You can't fumble the ball. That's your number one job, is protect the rock. So I think Ezekiel Elliott feels the most pressure because everybody knows Dak's coming off an injury. So his expectations can't be too high because he has to feel himself out. So it's Zeke automatic.
I have to go with Eric on that point because he's the one who came out for the money. You know, he was terrible last week. You know, he didn't really show up to where he needed to be. And then when he got all that money, and so now with offensive line, he's lost weight. He's feeling more pressure that, you know, he's got to be the man, take some of the pressure off of Dak Prescott, you know.
Well, what about Mike McCarthy? I mean, that falls on, he's the head coach. I get it that Dak got injured and they were putting in those pieces there, but Zeke had a terrible year. I don't think he even broke 1,000 yards.
It was 7 something, was it not?
But look at the wide receivers. Lamb, and who was the other? Amari Cooper. They're the second half. They progressed. So I'm going to say that the pressure is going to be more on Dak because he got the pay. Remember, he wanted his money.
Zeke got paid too,
Yeah,
and he hasn't done nothing since he got paid. He got hurt, and then he did nothing.
And he needs to fit that jersey a little better because I don't know what's going on there. So, all right, well, Eric, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to you. So now this is the knockout round here. So I'm going to give this to, we're going to start off with Chris. Chris, an alliance of the Big Ten, ACC, and the Pac-12. Is this good, bad, or ugly, and why?
I think it is bad, but in a good way. I think that it's just not fully complete yet. They need to go ahead and wrap in those other two of the Big Five and just make it one nice, sweet package. So it's bad just that it's not fully encompassing all of the top college levels yet, but to me, it's in a good way because it's good that they're taking that next step to getting out of the NCAA's control and into the schools controlling all of their own destinies, basically making a super conference. They'll probably break it up regionally, similar to like the NFL and other major league sports are broken up. And I think that's really good overall because then we'll actually be able to say we have the champion of this sport because all the teams they played each other all year round. We had a tournament at the end, and this is the winner, just like we do with baseball, MLB, NBA, NFL, MLS, Euro leagues, all of them. We want to see who's the best and no more. Well, these guys are the ones they picked who they think is the best, and we're going to say that's who the best is. No, now we can actually say this is the best. So I think it's bad, but in a good way.
No, yeah. When I first heard about this alliance, it kind of confused me. Bringing these conferences together, and you got the Big 12 conferences getting left out. So it's like, for those three conferences and leaving this one out, who have losing two teams going to the SEC, it's kind of hard. I have to say it's more bad right now because you're leaving out other conferences, to bring in good teams. If you're going to make this alliance, then you should have been going to talk to the Big 12. Have them come in to try, for the remaining teams that are going to be left, try to get everybody together, get better quality, football matchups, and set up for a better playoff system to compete with the SEC who's getting some Florida.
Anybody can help Don real quick? He's getting there.
I would say Chris did a really good job of saying how it's bad, but it's good. But you're seeing a changing of the guard with the NCAA is losing its stronghold with I forget what the ruling is where players can get paid off their likeness now.
Name it, image and likeness, NIL.
Likeness, and leaving out the Big 12 is kind of crazy because that's one of your cornerstone conferences, like Don was saying. But to get back to a top 25 and actually have it matter, not have Notre Dame be number 2 for no reason because they're not in the conference.
Because somebody said, well, I like the way those guys look.
Or USC being number 1 at the beginning of all these years like they were and then not losing at the end of the year. I think the playoffs should be expanded from 4 teams. That was never enough. And now we're blowing up conferences to get back because the Division I football is the only football that didn't have a playoff system. Division II, NAIA, Pop Warner, all that has a true playoff where, like Chris was saying, everybody plays each other. So it's not a surprise who comes out the winner at the end of the year. So it's like Chris was saying, it's bad right now, but it's going to be better in the future.
All right, Chris, we'll go ahead and give that to you. So, all right. So for the championship, will we see a repeat? So I'm going to start this off with Chris. How will Ryan Fitzmagic, how he will do with now being with the Washington football team.
Oh, Fitz. I love my Fitzpatrick. He was, I want to say he was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals his second or third year in the league and served as a replacement for Carson Palmer for the last 8 games of the season. So I've always really enjoyed Fitzpatrick. He had some fun games up there in Buffalo back in the day when he got his first really big, number 1 QB contract up there. Didn't pan out like he had hoped, I'm sure. And he's just fun to watch everywhere he goes. He feels like an average guy out there playing and just zinging it all over the place. Doesn't he? Kind of, he's not the fastest, the strongest, or the biggest quarterback out there. I think he's going to do pretty well in Washington. They've really liked him this preseason. He knows how to manage a game, which is Ron Rivera, strong defensive coach. And oh my goodness, I don't know if you guys saw them. They played the Bengals last night. And Washington's defensive line, 4 first-rounders. Oh my goodness, they're just eating it up alive, man. They look so amazing. So I think that behind with a strong defense like that, where he's not going to be forced to go out and win every game, he can win a game. We've seen him do it year in and year out on new teams, new schemes. He's going to perform great in Washington. I think I really am excited to see him there.
I think Fitzmagic has a great chance to lock down another contract with him. I don't really think he has a lot of competition. They might go out and draft a guy next year, maybe for the future, because we're talking about he's a journeyman. He played for 12, 13. This might be his 14th team in the league, but the crazy part is he's won everywhere he's won. He knows how to win games. He may not be the strongest, like Chris said, or the fastest, or have the biggest arm, but he is a competitor. I put his competitive nature and hunger up there with the best.
He does have one of the best beards on a QB out there ever, I've got to say. And
he does have a coach that believes in him. He's already named him the starter in Ron Rivera, who's a defensive-minded coach. The defense is going to get coached up. Anybody who plays with Ron Rivera buys into that system, so that automatically takes pressure off of Fitzmagic. I think he's matured and kind of toned down his gunslinging to be a more consistent, stable guy. And I think, he doesn't get hurt, so he stays healthy. So I think as long as he's consistent and does what he knows how to do and win those gritty games, he's going to be great there.
And he's playing in the NFC East, man. Fitzmagic can go 7-9 in his sleep
make the playoffs
and make a playoff game. And with that, again, with the defense he's got to back him up, and he's got probably the best team he's been on in a long time.
They got Chase Young playing with his head on fire at defensive end for them. So, if you can get 1 or 2 fumbles or a couple turnovers and put him in a position where he doesn't have to go 80 or 90 yards to score points, Fitzmagic can win you 7, 8 games that get you in the playoffs.
If that defense is playing like that and he's sitting back there relaxed, easy tossing, not having to force anything, because usually he gets in trouble a little bit when he has to force, when he's got to force it downfield to make some big pickups.
When they're down big.
Right, but he can manage that game pretty well. So,
remember last year, what was the year before when they were in Tampa, when he was in Tampa, when he was showing off, right when Pittsburgh came into town, he got demoralized really quick. All right, you guys are really close. I need to find something that's going to separate you guys out.
I thought the beard would do it, man.
You guys are doing such a phenomenal job.
And the shades with the open
chain.
Yeah, the chain.
Okay, so they will play the AFC West this year. So I'm going to start this off with you, Chris. So this is going to be right now or never.
Sudden death.
Bring it. Washington's defense, top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel they're going to put the pressure in the AFC West this year when they're competing, or do you feel the AFC West is going to run the NFC East?
Oh, they're going to mostly run the NFC East for sure. They're playing the NFC East, right? AFC West is playing the NFC East. They're going to mostly run you got Philadelphia's a
shambles,
bucket and garbage fire. Yeah, they're going to run. For the most part, I think that Washington's going to be the team that does give the AFC West some hard times with that defense, especially. They're going to give the Chiefs a hard game, I think.
Eric, if the secondary can lock down Travis Kelce and maybe Tyreek Hill, they stand a chance. But like Chris said, the Washington football team has the best chance because their defense is the most solid. The Eagles are in shambles.
Dallas, we don't know.
Dallas,
I mean,
we
does
don't
Dak
know.
come back to and
Mike McCarthy might be on the hot seat. We all know who really runs that team in Jerry Jones. If he's unhappy, nobody's happy.
Giants just look
The
mediocre. I mean, just
they're in shambles. They need their running back to come back. They're not there yet. They're missing some pieces on defense.
it's going to be another 7-9, 8-8
playoff team.
divisional winner in the East.
So I think what sets the Washington football team apart is going to be their coaching in Ron Rivera, a Super Bowl winner himself with the '85 Bears,
Great
one of the best defenses of all time. He's
been there. He's taken his own teams to the bowl.
taken them. He's
Mostly
lost.
deep. I mean, Cam Newton had a great year that year, but that was still a very strong defense that he had put together to go to the Super Bowl that year.
Absolutely. So I think coaching will set them apart, and I think they will get there.
This was tough. This was real. But you brought up the key thing, Ron Rivera. No. The simple fact is, look what he did for Carolina with Luke Kuechly and all those defensive players going in and
Starley Lady.
So, Chris, you won it.
Hey,
Good job.
there
It was
you
a tough stretch, and we still don't have a back-to-back winner top dog. So, but hey, Chris, I just want to say congrats on that.
Hey, congrats,
Keep
Chris.
it going, Eric. We'll look forward to that. So, tune in for
no bonus.
no, you got to keep it going. So tune in for the next episode. We will talk about the final division is the AFC and NFC South. And we're going to go ahead and do a exclusive game one of the open regular season with Tampa Bay hosting the Dallas Cowboys. So thank you to the audience. You want to give a quick shout out before we go?
Just my good friends, JC Bordeaux, Mike Hanna, Chris Lindsay, longtime Chiefs fans, my good buddies back home that always keep me grounded and talk sports with when I'm not with you guys.
I'll be to my wife, who's going to be listening here shortly, and my uncle and my mother, who are both massive Chargers fans.
Big shout out to our sponsors and to all the guys out there in cyberspace that are listening, checking us out. Thanks, guys.
To give a shout out to the fans listening tonight, and my big friend Mike Irvin, who's a big Chiefs fan. So I know he's looking up for this dude. A big shout out.
And of course, thank God. I want to thank the audience for tuning in. I appreciate you guys giving us an opportunity to tune in to us. And I want to say to you guys, thank you for being here. Thanks to the people behind the scenes. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Powell. Thank you, Eric. And overall, look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. All right, guys. Thank you.
Take it easy.